All right, if TV 20 is ready, I'd like to say good morning. Today is September 22nd. I'd like to call this meeting of the Utilities Committee to order. Ms. Moss, there's no need to call the roll this morning, I assume, because we're not hearing legislation. Is that correct?
That's correct, Mr. Chairman.
All right, we'd like to let you know that the following meetings held during the COVID-19 emergency declaration will be conducted as virtual meeting in accordance with Ohio's open meeting laws as amended by Sub-House Bill 197. The public may observe these meetings on YouTube and on Cleveland Channel 20. More information, you can go to Cleveland City Council's website. And again, today is Tuesday, September 22nd, and this is our 4th of 7 hearings regarding Cleveland Public Power. And today's topic is customer service at Cleveland Public Power. And just want to remind my colleagues that next week on the 29th will be purchase power, followed by the operations, and then capital projects. I would like to let the administration know that for next week's hearing on the 29th, if we could get a member of law to join us in regards to some of the purchase contracts that we'll be discussing. So if Director, if either you or I need to make that request to law for them to be present at next week's meeting, if we can work to get that done. With that being said, I'd like to say, Director Davis, welcome. And we're going to be talking about customer service today. Now we went over the history of CPP, the financial position, and when it comes to our customers, and we're going to be going over some different topics in the future. None of that hits them home and like it does us, but customer service is the one thing that anybody who is going to be calling down to public utilities, that's the first line of communication. So I think this is a very important topic for our residents for CPP. So on that, I'd like to turn it over to Director.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I will get that request over to law to have someone for next week's committee hearing. Our team today consists of A.D. Kane, Commissioner Joy Perry, Jim Ferguson, Vicki Transler, Rich Barton, and Bernie Jackson. And Joy will take the lead, but I do want to just start off with first and foremost, Cleveland Public Power is committed to providing a viable, reliable, and sustainable utility option for our customers. We currently are engaged in several initiatives, one being a complete overhaul of our billing system, which is converting Banner to CC&B. This conversion will be completed in 2020, I'm being told, and this would allow for better data collection and reporting while opening and augmenting the meter operations and customer service. In 2018, we implemented a new phone system which utilizes text-to-speech. These technologies will allow the automatic messaging to assure accurate reporting to our customers, along with our new website and online payment options and SCADA upgrades to come. These technologies upgrades will come with regular monitoring and training of staff to focus on continuing commitment to the quality of delivery of service that we provide. All of these efforts have been made clear with an understanding of affordability and equity. CPP remains cognizant of the struggles facing many of our customers, and every decision that we make keeps them in consideration. From large scale reliability redundancy projects to small scale technology upgrades, we remain committed to providing a high level quality customer service. With that being said, I'm going to turn it over to Commissioner Perry, who will talk a whole lot more in detail on the things that I've just outlined. Commissioner.
Before we get started with Commissioner Perry, Director, the council was sent over a PowerPoint or information on what you guys were going to talk today. Does
Yes.
anybody have the ability to share that on their screen as they talk about it?
Yes, I have ability to share it. Are you going to give me permission to share?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Should be able to now.
Just one moment. Are everyone able to see this?
Yes, we can.
I can, yeah.
Thank you. Customer service. I will have with me the management, as the director stated, that customer service is beyond just one department. It is the entire departments of Cleveland Public Power, which includes meter reading service, call center. And what we're very proud of, we're the only utility in Cleveland or in this area that still have a walk-in lobby. We have our field operations and engineering department, sales and CAM. CAM is commercial account manager representative and billing. All of these are customer focused, whether those customers are internal or external customers, we are customer focused. Cleveland Public Power's core philosophy is CPP is small enough to care, but big enough to compete in. Product, clean electricity, service, reliable service, human interaction. Our employees are accessible. We hear that over and over again from our customers. We actually got to talk to someone and you came out. Customer satisfaction is critical to any business, and as such, the customer function in an organization is the most important. CPP understands that customer satisfaction is evolutionary. It means we're constantly changing to address our customers' needs. Areas of service value. Service value is at the meter service center. We complete a little over 39 service orders annually. We have a pilot program where we can do a remote connect and disconnect about approximately 360 meters. We're reestablishing the orange tag hanging for notification before disconnecting. We disconnect delinquent accounts. We read, which is a high statistic, 99.8% of all our meters. We install meter installation. We install meter case for new construction. Call center. Our call center receives 208,000 calls annually, regardless of storms. That's what we have, 200. A third of our customers pay online. 110,000 of our customers visit the walk-in lobby. We issue all field service orders. We work with internal and external and internal agencies. This is something I'm very proud of because in the city of Cleveland, we have agencies that we don't even think about. The Department of Aging has one of the best partnerships that we have for identifying problems, and we assist with them when they have problems. They make payment arrangements. We meet one-on-one with our customers to resolve problems. We take payments on the line with no added fee for a customer service representative to take that payment, and we discuss customers' bills. Service value, credit, and collections. We work on active and inactive accounts. We work with an outside collection agency. We work with the fiscal control to analyze payments. Of course, you know that most people are using payment online, so they may double pay their bills. So we analyze the payment and place the payment on the right accounts, payment reversal. We issue about 6,500 disconnects every year, and we coordinate the HEAP programs, the county programs, agency assistance programs, Department of Aging, and any council complaints that we may have. I didn't have that there, and also Mayor's Action Center. The billing department, they create new premises. New premises are business that come through development or something that we never had that account. So they create all the billing, new bills for that customer for billing. They maintain bill hygiene. They make sure that our bills are clean. There's not any errors. They edit, they audit the meter reading and complete any bill adjustments. The CAM department, which stands for Commercial Account Management Representative. They work with all commercial accounts. They serve as a liaison to resolve all commercial resolution. Sales, the sales department is sales and customer relations and development of new business. The sales department meet with the residential, commercial, contractors, new business, and developers. They work on reconnecting services that have not been in our system for maybe 2 or 3 years, idle properties, and they return. They will do the service for that. Brand new services that are the developer brings in. Increase in services, takeovers from CEI, and they research services for efficiencies. They serve as a project manager and project support. They are a liaison between operations and engineering, but particularly in new business. And they manage the demolition, account reconciliation, and execute contracts. Engineering, you'll hear more about the engineering and operations. So I gave you highlights on that in the next week. Engineering manages our capital projects. So we did not get into an operations. We have a week on both of those. So you'll hear more about these two departments. But an overview on this department, they work with the contractors on infrastructure design, which is electric schematic. They evaluate the substation for capacity and maintenance. They're transferring the current system maps into a new GIS system. They design new constructions, engineering, electrical designs. They maintain compliance. They complete pole attachment applications. They complete net meter application. Operations, they maintain our infrastructure. Our infrastructure is the distribution system and any upgrades. They complete new construction. They respond to trouble complaints. They maintain the distribution system and street lights. They repair down wires, replace down wires, replace hit poles. They install increase, and they have maintained the tree trimming program. Street lighting, LED program. This was a collaborative program through the Department of the City of Cleveland Safety, Utilities, and Smart Technology. The little graph you see at the bottom of the page, that is the wards and their progress of how they have been moving along with that project. New technologies. The director mentioned some of our new technologies. Our new technology is converting to a new billing system. We're in the process of doing that. We're converting from Banner to a system that will be used by public utility. That will give us some synergy between Water Department and CPP. We'll be moving to CC&V billing system by the end of the 4th quarter or in the middle of the 4th quarter. We're moving rapidly there. Our new telephone system, upfront messages. When there's an outage, we can text to speech and let the customers know where there is an outage. New website, we are in every social media platform there is. We're upgrading our SCADA system to monitor and control our substation. AVL is vehicle locator. That is for efficiency. So if we need to move a crew, we can identify what crew can move to respond to a problem, and that's in that area to address it immediately. We're upgrading our GIS system, and of course, you know about streetlight technology. Service value. There are charges that our other utilities have that CPP has no charges added to the customer. We charge no charges for increase in service, no charges for electrical inspection, no additional charges for the same day restoration of service. I've seen charges go up as high for same day restoration of service to $60. All our trouble calls are free. We do not defer anything, the ownership of our equipment, to the customer, such as if you had a meter down and your pole and the pipes were hit or the meter case was hit, they would come and make sure that it was safe, but the customer would have to hire a private contractor to make the repairs there. There's no additional charges for testing the meters. There's no charges for relocating the service. There's no monthly customer fee. In other utilities, monthly, the customer is charged a fee. And there's no additional charges for the customer service rep to take any phone payment. That is my conclusion. I have a staff standing by to answer any questions that you may have.
All right, thank you, Commissioner. I have a couple of questions here. Director, when you have a new employee or your employees now, the individuals who answer the phone, one of the biggest complaints that we get is, one, they don't know where to refer to, or two, you may get a different answer depending on who you talk to. Could you kind of go over the training that the individuals who answer the phone, the customer service reps, I would assume that they are, what kind of training they receive, and is that training equal across the board?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I can tell you emphatically that, yes, they do get trained. And I will yield to the commissioner. This is more her area than mine to talk about just what type of training they get and the skill set and the soft skills they need to perform their duties. Commissioner?
To the chairman, yes, the customer service reps have a formal training, a 6 weeks training that is in the classroom. On that training, they learn what is the electricity. They also learn how to use our billing system. They also have what we call soft skill training in that 6 week training. Then from the 6 weeks training, then the training is consistent across the board. And from the 6 weeks training, they're now shadowing a customer service rep on the floor for the next 4 to 6 weeks, depends on how they're adopting. They shadow for 2 weeks, then the representative watch them as they say. So it's probably a 10-week training program. However, we do send the message, but sometimes the message may get lost in the training. And when we identify that, we retrain that representative and to minimize. There are sheets that they have to tell them who should get this call, who should get that, and move the call from one department to the next. So we would have to identify where those weak links are. That's why I said it's evolutionary. We continually work and adjust so we can respond to those needs.
All right, and then you'd mentioned in your presentation that there's 110,000 people that walk in annually to pay their bill. Would you happen to know what the average time that they spend in the building is? And there's you probably don't know, but there's a follow-up to that, because when I was down there, whatever it was, 2 weeks ago or something, I know that the meters outside are only 30 minutes long. I believe it's 30 minutes or an hour long. So, and I know that this has nothing to do with customer service, but I'm wondering if anybody knows what the average wait time is for somebody who goes in to pay their utility.
To the chairman, if the person pays their utility, that's a fast moving line. The lobby is divided in 2 areas of services. paying their bills, which is a fast moving line. That average person may wait less than 5 minutes to walk up to the cashier and pay the bill. It depends on the complexity of their problem. If they have a problem where they have we're trying to identify, such as a tampering of account, who's the responsible party, those average services could take 10 minutes or even longer, depends on the complexity of the what they have, and if they have to be referred to a supervisor. Generally speaking, most people can run in that lobby and in those 30 minutes leave before for their service to be done, but depends on the complexity of the problem.
All right. And then also in your presentation, you talked about engineering and operations. And I think operations is what most of the council and the residents deal with. Do you know how many employees we have in engineering and how many in operations?
I would say that our operations, between our operation and engineering, is 1/3 of our employees are in those departments, or 3/4 of our employees are in that department. So if we say we probably have about 190 between the two departments.
190?
230. Mr. Barton just told me 230 employees are between those departments.
Okay. And those 200, go ahead, Director.
Can you give a breakdown of what's in engineering and what's in operations?
I have 10 in, if you would take the 230, I have 10 in engineering. So that means 220 would be in operations.
And the operations are the guys who go out and troubleshoot, fix the line. If there's power down, they're restoring it and all that other stuff.
Yes.
Okay.
That would also include meter services too.
Okay. And talking about, just if I could circle back around a little, individuals who have not, or we know are not able or disputing their bills. If I come in and I walk into the lobby and I say, I don't believe I use this much electricity, or I have an issue, what is the step, or what are what's the protocol for an individual who wants to dispute their bill?
Well, first they would identify, like you said, the question. Then we would the first thing the customer service would do was look at the bill and see if the bill of how much the current bill is. This next step is to analyze, how did they get that bill? What is the consumption that gave them that bill? And the only way you can do that is understand the meter reading department. You go to the meter reads and see if was it estimated, was it actual, was there any billing problems that may have occurred on that account before you can send the customer through a series of questions on how are you using. Then you also must be cognitive of what season it is. If you come in and you're saying you're using a lot of electricity now, and we would be concerned if your consumption was very high when no one's using air conditioning. So we have them prepped for or screening out what may be the cause and what is the effect of that bill. If there's no estimation in the bills, and most of our bills are not estimated, we read 99.8% of all our meters, then we will do a comparison. Is this a historical consumption that you would use every month? Because usually people who have been in a home have patterns. They have seasons where they use a lot, and they have seasons that they don't use a lot. So then you would ask a series of questions. Have there been any changes in your house? Just the most common one we just referred to was a person who now they're elderly and they turn on their electric heater. So then that peaked in an area that a time that you would not think it would be peaking. So you would go through a series of questions. And if the person continued and we are not able to resolve that, then we may move into a reread or an investigation or anything like that. But generally speaking, an investigation, by having dialogue with the customer, we can usually identify when and how they've used that type of consumption.
All right. And does CPP have outreach workers who may, or does CPP, yes, do they have outreach workers where if we're seeing somebody who's lagging behind or just, having trouble paying their bills, do we have any outreach workers that reach out to our customers to ask them or to try to work with them in regards to staying current on their bills, or if they need any kind of other help regarding the utilities that CPP could help them. Can you talk about any programs that and also can you talk about any programs that CPP has to help people who are having troubles paying their bills?
Well, we have an excellent relationship with all the HEAP offices. We train the HEAP office annually. We're invited to CHN, we're invited to the Council of Economic Development. So we have an excellent relationship with that group of people that we can have the outreach and workers and work with them. Now, once again, I can't say enough for the Department of Aging. The Department of Aging, we work with the Department of Aging. Our partnership with them is wonderful. We identify, customers call us and we may identify on the phone, this person is having a problem. Now, we have to be very, very careful because there are certain things that we're not allowed to ask the customer because we're not equipped to ask them those type of questions. But if we sense there's something going on in the house, just like I gave you a message on the one last week, we sensed that there was her problem. She called about her bill, but her true problem was rain was coming in her house and no one was making the repairs and her house was cold and she was a senior citizen with illness. By partnering with the Department of Aging and any other agencies, why I talk about the HEAP office, I can name maybe 10 other agencies we work with. The Veterans Administration is one of the agencies we work with. The Eaton agency we work for. The AIDS Task Force we work for. So any of those, our people are trained to ask, to identify them, and we will give the customer their numbers, and many times they refer to a supervisor who calls in behalf of that person and make the connections for them. So I would say most of our representatives are outreach workers.
Okay. And then finally for me, before I open it up to questions from my colleagues, Director, did Cleveland Public Power receive any CARES Act money to help people who were behind in billing or to help them maintain during this pandemic?
It is my understanding that we have not received any CARES Act money. What we have been doing is kind of gearing our customers towards the federal program HEAP. And that's pretty much what we've been doing at this point. I know, Joy, you may mention that some other pot of money that may be coming in. I don't know if that's through the CARES or some other, or another HEAP, maybe winter.
Yes, well, we're in between, Director, excuse me, I'm sorry. In between the summer HEAP, which paid up to $800 on the account, and the county who had paid up to $750 on the account, and now winter HEAP will be starting in November. There should be an additional HEAP payment that's coming through the CARES Act. I don't know when, but CHN will be the person, which is Cleveland Housing Network, that will be administering that program. I don't know the amount of each person's eligible, but Cleveland Public Power did send a mailing out to the customers, making them aware of this program. The postcard, I think we shared that before. We had an overwhelming response from that. In addition to that, we sent a soft letter out to our customer. This week we have been busy. People are making arrangements, allowing them to get on a payment plan now. So we are touching all of our customers during COVID, and I think that they are responding.
All right, so when this moratorium on shutoffs ends, Cleveland Public Power, are we monitoring those who are in jeopardy of being turned off as soon as the pandemic is over? And are we prepared to work with those individuals to not get them shut off in hopes that they can catch up on whatever bill they're behind?
Yes.
Okay. All right, at this time, I'd like to open it up to questions from my colleagues. And I don't see anybody currently with their hand up. Okay, Councilman Brancatelli. Tony, you're gonna have to unmute yourself. All right.
There we go. You got it?
Yep, there you go.
Sorry about that. Just a couple of quick questions, basically along the same line around the CARES Act funding. So we have a blanket moratorium on shut-offs right now without cause, or do we require folks to provide reason for requesting a shut-off be held?
Director?
Yeah, right now, there is a blanket moratorium on shut-offs at this point, based on the mayor's proclamation of civil emergency and COVID-19 pandemic. So right now, there is a moratorium on shut-offs, and that is for all. So they don't have to do anything at this point to do anything about asking or seeing what their financial situation is. I think it's all related to COVID-19 and the pandemic, and it's getting some relief to our customers at this point in time.
Yeah, so I'll respectively disagree that it's all related to COVID, but you're using COVID as the reason for doing the moratorium. We've had people, in some of our utilities who were well behind before COVID set in. But the other reason I raised that question is, as the chairperson spoke, Chairman Casey, around CARES Act funding, we put in millions of dollars for utility relief. So without having any leverage, and I had the same discussion when we were meeting around housing court and evictions, there's no reason for somebody to seek aid to help pay their bill if we're just automatically saying, you don't have to pay because we're just going to assume you can't because you're affected by COVID, and we make those assumptions. There's no declaration. And so we have millions of dollars set aside for utility relief, but no mechanism to make them go seek that relief. And as the chairperson said, the moratorium is going to be lifted, just like our rental evictions and moratorium is going to be lifted. And then now people are going to start scrambling because they're going to get shut-off notices. So I'm a little concerned that we don't have a mechanism to say, yes, I'm going to raise my hand and say, I will take responsibility for my utility bill. And yes, I will seek assistance for any of the myriad of programs, whether it's county, city, or any of the CARES Act funding. But we're just blanketly letting people stay with their utility on. And then we're going to get hit hard come January when all this relief money is dried up, and then we're going to start putting out evictions. How many, I think at the last meeting, you said there was something like 6,000 that are being held in abeyance right now?
Director?
I'm not sure of the question. Held in abeyance, 6,000.
How many are being, that we're not shutting off, that we should be, that normally we would be sending notice to?
I believe, I'll yield to Joy. I believe you referenced 6,500 or something?
Yes, Director.
Okay, that's correct.
So that's my concern is we're letting folks without making an overt action come to us and utilize the assistance that's available to them, both for the health of our organization of the utility and for the well-being of the individual, because then January they're going to be seeking assistance where we're not going to have, may not have assistance available. So just a point I wanted to make, and the concern that I raised, and I raised it around our eviction courts as well, and I'll continue to raise it with our water department and other utilities. And I mentioned this at the last meeting. Chief Brown had said, even though some of our utilities, like our water utilities, are behind a year, we're allowing the COVID to give folks relief that are just clearly just scamming the system. So, and I know that's not the majority of the people, but when I have absentee landlords, Councilman Polensek and I talked about this at the last hearing, absentee landlords are gaming the system and we're stuck putting the bill for it. A question on the, when I'm looking at the LED street light and the service value, and I just want to clarify that the $25 million that was bonded for the street lights and safety program, that was bonded against the city of Cleveland, not against the utility company?
Correct.
That is correct. To the chair, to the councilman, that's correct.
So how does that debt show up on your balance sheet as an obligation to the city?
It is a general fund obligation. It is not a CPP obligation.
So when we're talking about the health of CPP and their ability to, we're also talking about the health of the city's general fund, because that $25 million is bonded against the city as well. So I just want to remind my colleagues that there's significant indebtedness to the city that doesn't show up on CPP, that is obligated through the technology that we invested in. And just want to clarify that point. Those were the only couple comments I had at this time, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councilman Brancatelli. Director, or to the Commissioner Perry, do those 6,500 people who are in danger of being shut off when this is lifted, is there outreach to them? Are they aware of it? Do they know?
Okay, and I'll yield to you here in just a minute, Commissioner. I do want to be clear. When the Commissioner referenced the 6,500 folks that would have been on the disconnection trail, most of them was eligible for HEAP, in which most of the bill has been paid, is our understanding. And so when we talk about what may be out there in January and how they may be delinquent in January, right now, I would say probably 85–90% of the bills have been paid, and with another HEAP program coming in the winter. So we don't generally shut off in the winter. So I don't believe that it's going to be a major issue with everybody being that's in disconnect mode, if you will, or in the severance or collection process. Will have to worry about, oh, I'm going to be shut off. Keeping in mind that we've been sending out communiques all along. We did a phone message. We did a postcard. We just did letters saying, hey, you are delinquent. You're still responsible for paying your bill. Okay. And that's what we've been doing thus far. But we do not believe that the number, based on the programs that are out there, that number is going to be 6,500. It's going to be, I think we reconnected 136, which asked to be reconnected. And we believe that most of everybody that contacted us were turned back on.
On that point, Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead, Councilman.
Thank you. I mean, I'm only going by what I get from the mayor's press release. And the mayor's press release is pretty clear around utility services update. So if you have a different number you want to give us than what the mayor's press release gives us, we'd be happy to try and understand, how many of these are related to COVID and not related to COVID that are normally in the queue. So if we can differentiate that, that would be great. But right now, this is the information that we're given. So thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You're welcome.
So what information is he referring to?
Councilman Brancatelli? It's in the mayor's.
These are the mayor's press releases that announce all kinds of different things, whether it's trash collection, it's all under the COVID press release.
This comes out daily.
Right, and it's 136 reconnections on there. Is that correct?
Those are reconnections, but that it talks about the suspension of terminations.
Okay.
And that number's 6,500. Okay. So the outreach that CPP does to these potential accounts is the letter, the postcard, you did a phone message, but it's still up to the customer to call CPP in order to receive the actual help. We were letting them know that the help is out there, but the customer still has a responsibility to call CPP to start the ball rolling, correct?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Thank you, Councilman Brancatelli. Councilman Polensek, was your hand still up? Councilman Polensek.
Can you hear me, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much. Mr. Chairman, first of all, I want to thank Joy Perry, as always, for being responsive when I call her, and Rich Barton and their team. I appreciate that's old school response, and I want to say that again publicly. I thank her. I want to concur with Councilman Brancatelli that there are people that are gaming the system. There's no doubt about it. I mean, we all know that. So I think that the administration of both Cleveland Public Power and Water and Sewer WPC have to be very mindful of that fact, because we know, especially in the case of Cleveland Public Power, we don't have the sheer volume of customers that the Division of Water has. So when you have people not paying their bill or not making any effort to pay their bill, that does affect the rest of the customers who are struggling. There are people who are struggling to pay their bills, and we have elderly people on fixed income, people who've lost their jobs. And I know that because I get those phone calls like the rest of my colleagues do. And I sympathize with them and I try to assist them in every way possible. But I just want to make sure that the administration understands that there's no doubt there are people who are they're having a field day during this process with not paying their utility bill. So that being said, I want to just zero in on something. So when you pull a meter, and I don't even know who to direct this to, if I should direct this to Joy or Rich or whoever, when a meter is pulled off of a house, what prompts that? What is the condition that prompts CPP to pull the meter off a house?
Director, you want me?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, I'm gonna let Rich answer it, but it's generally tampering. So Rich is over the operations department, so Mr. Burton will be taking it over.
It could be tampering. It could be damage. A lot of times during a storm, we'll either have a house pipe or a meter case or even the meter itself damaged. And in order to restore service to the customer, we do what we have to do to restore the flow of electricity. And that may mean pulling the meter and getting it out of the way and putting in cut-through bars or something like that.
So so I want to just, so the individuals who tamper with their meters, that's when they're pulled, correct?
That's one of the circumstances, yes. If we find out.
And when the drop is taken down, is that then the additional action that's taken if they continue?
No, we'll cut the loop at one end or the other, depending on how aggressive they're tampering. We'll cut it at the pole if they're particularly active down at the at ground level. In extreme cases, we'll actually take the loop off. If we've had people that have climbed up the pole and have reconnected themselves, and in order to prevent that from happening, we'll just take the whole wire down.
Okay, because I'm going to be after the committee hearing, I'm going to be turning one into you where a vacant home where they have jerry rigged and put the power back on in the property. And I had a little elderly lady call me this morning saying how they're in there having a field day and they somehow jerry rigged the power to go back on the house on let me see what street here. On Earlwood off of St. Clair. So I'll be getting you that address right after the committee hearing. But again, I just, go ahead.
I said, we'll take a look at it, definitely.
Okay, thank you. And again, to the director and to the administration, customer service is very critical. Because many of the calls we get all day long in council are customer service calls or people who somehow feel that their concerns are not being addressed. They're being bounced from one. I'm looking at my call list today from a little lady who bounced from one department to another. So I can't stress enough the importance of customer service, treating people fairly. We're here to serve. That's been always my motto in city council. I'm here to serve my constituents and the people of Cleveland. And again, I want to say to the staff of Cleveland Public Power, I appreciate, at least in my own case, when I've made an inquiry or I've made a request, their response. So thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You, Councilman. Councilman McCormick.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I'll be brief. I'm just curious. We have brought this up in prior committee meetings, but it's the issue of, and I still hear it, of when folks call into the customer service line being hung up on. And I know that we were going to look into that, I don't know, a year ago when we had a committee, but it's folks that they call in and they get hung up on, they call in, they get hung up on, did we find out anything about that or why that was happening? Chair to the commissioner or director?
Director, Commissioner?
Yeah, I'm gonna yield to Commissioner Perry and/or Rich Barton.
We had a situation in the phone system where if there were a lot of calls awaiting a message, they basically ran out of licenses, and there may have been calls that were dropped. Under normal circumstances, I mean, it would have to be a very, very large outage, and I believe IT is looking into or has corrected the issue. But under normal circumstances, there's enough lines coming in. I think some of the ones we've investigated, I think people, we try to play music on hold to give people positive reinforcement that the line is still there. But if there's a moment of silence, they sometimes think they've been hung up on and they really haven't. And then we also get the complaint every once in a while. People say that they're busy and they can't get in. Well, that really doesn't happen. But the best we can tell what's happening there is people get a recording that says our dispatchers is busy answering calls. Please stay on the line. And they hear they're busy answering calls and they say, oh, they're busy. People rarely, if ever, get a legitimate, what we used to think of in the old days, the old busy signal. When you call a number and it's truly busy and you get the little tone that beeps at you. The number of lines that we have available in the new phone system for incoming calls is phenomenal. And like I said, the only thing that we've encountered, and I think IT has fixed it, is if there's an extreme number of calls, the number of licenses that are available for the text-to-speech message are exhausted, and the system doesn't know what to do with you. But I think they fixed that.
Thank you. And I know that we've spoken at one of the last committee hearings of whether CPP can put a message during a large outage of, like, if you ever call, I mean, you ever call the cable company and they have or the internet company, whatever, and there's a large outage, they'll say in advance, we're experiencing an outage here, we're aware of it here, we're the rough time. So have you thought about if there is a large outage, having a pre-recorded, we're aware of this, we're out there working on it, we hope to have it up in the near future. I don't know, just something that, folks can say, okay, they got folks out there already working on it. I don't need to call in.
We actually do that now through our text speech. Regardless of if there's a feeder out, we'll put a message out saying we are currently experiencing an outage from an area from Fenwick Avenue to Train Avenue, from West 25th to West 41st. And then as time goes on, once we identify the cause of the outage, we try to put that out there, whether it's Mylar balloons or whether it's a hit pole. It's harder to estimate when the outage will end, and we hate to give people false hope, so we're a little less on the end of trying to give estimating times. But as we know, and as developments occur, we actually put it in the text-to-speech. We can change those messages on the fly. And what we find is once an outage occurs, I can go into the system and I can see that there are, let's say, 60 calls that are waiting on hold. The moment I put the message out there, within 2 minutes, the number of calls that are waiting drops to 10 or 15,
Right.
as people get positive reinforcement that we know there's an outage, we know there's an outage in their area, and there's no reason for them to hang on. We do repeat the message in case people miss it the first time around, and in case there's an update. So if you call in, you may get the initial message, and if you're on hold for 2 or 3 minutes and we happen to find out that it was a hit pole on 45th and Train, we'll put that out there in a text-to-speech, and the next time the message comes around, you'll hear it.
Great, that's great. And Chair to Assistant Director, Rich, what's your title? I'm sorry.
Assistant Commissioner.
Assistant Commissioner. Was that implemented, that messaging program, was that implemented? When was that implemented?
That was about, it'll be what, two years ago in November? 2 years ago in November, this past
Okay.
November, yeah.
Okay, thank you. Chair, the only other thing I have, we submitted some records requests with the contracts, AMP contracts and otherwise. Are those coming or what's the stat? Obviously, those are germane to next week's hearing. So checking in on the status of those.
Yeah, the administrator, DPU has those, and we anticipate having those by next week's hearing. We'll tell you that some of those are very large, a lot of information, right? That some of those things are, I don't know how to say it. I mean, they're large. I don't know if they can be emailed or not. But we'll do our best to get what you're requesting into your hands.
Yeah,
We'll work together to try to get something.
Great, Chairman. And I would just say, I mean, if at all possible by this weekend, I'm a nerd and I like to read, so I don't have any issue picking them up and going through a lot of information. Thank you.
And Director, when somebody calls down there and gets customer service, do the people who answer the phone, do they give their names? And are those calls recorded?
I'll yield to the commissioner. I do believe they're recorded. I don't know whether they give their names or not. Commissioner.
Yes, the calls are recorded. Yes, there is a pre-recording of each one of the representatives' names. So if they call in, they would get the message, depends on the representative, and they will give their first name, not their full name. So the customer will be given the customer service representative's name.
So if we get a call from a resident or a constituent who says, Mary was extremely rude to me and I'm unhappy with it, and she's calling to complain about the way she was treated on the phone, CPP, just like they do with 911, has the ability to go back and pull that call and listen to it to find either a resolution to whatever that situation was, whether it's customer was right or, the representative was right or whoever, but we have that ability to do that, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Seeing no other questions from my colleagues, we want to excuse Councilwoman Santana for today's hearing. We want to let you know that next week on the 29th, we'll be going over the contracts, purchase power and rates and the energy adjustment charge. So I look forward to a very robust meeting next week. If there's no other questions, we will call this meeting. We'll gavel out, or however we do it, we'll call it to an end. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.